All right, I'm here today with Colt. We are going to discuss topics like healthy relationships, building healthy relationships, and confidence. And before we begin, my website is joresults.com, and this is the first wave. This is the new shit. So just go to the joresults.com, type in your email, and you get a free ebook. And it's only 20 pages. That's all it is. If you like it and you think it's really good, you can join my community. My community is only $27 and it's the new shit. Okay, starting now. All right. I have you on here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm up here in Miami, Florida, and it is cold as hell.
That's what I hear. I heard it was actually snowing in Florida.
Yes, it's snowing on the more upper end, like around Milton and Tennessee, I know, but it hasn't hit Miami at all, which I don't think it will.
Okay. I have a friend, he's a dentist and he works in Houston and he's into the nightlife a lot. And I was looking at his Instagram, and on his stories, there's snow everywhere in Houston. I was watching it, and I was pretty much shocked.
Yeah, I'll catch a bit of that when I'm up in Toronto in March. So I
Okay.
know it'll be freezing then.
All right. All right. My first main question is about personal growth. What got you into this, and what are some of the big learning lessons you learned as you started diving into it?
The realization that a lot of people aren't really as happy as they perceive themselves to be.
Yeah.
Most people just, put up a front and just work and work and work
Yeah.
until either exhausted themselves or they just live a very unhappy life. So
Yeah.
my whole thing when I made this whole big realization is that I'm not trying to live a life where I work a 9 to 5 job, come home exhausted and angry and not happy with my living situation
Yeah.
at all. So from there, I just decided I'm gonna work for something that is way beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to have at least to some degree a set routine.
Mm.
And if you have trouble with a certain area, figuring out ways to fix that, like a lot of people have a trouble going to sleep because of all the stimulation we have with our phones and the lighting. So it can be incredibly difficult. So you got to get like some kind of figure out some kind of solution. For me, I do meditation and I'm getting back into it. I used to do it for long periods of time. And you don't have to do long periods. You could do 5 minutes. If you want to jump into it, do 1 minute a day, build up to 5 minutes. You don't have to do it long periods, but you can. If you're interested in it and you want to go dive deeper into it, if you want to do 20, 30 minutes a day of meditation, it's going to benefit you in the long run if you have enough time to cut it down into that time frame of 30 minutes. That's one thing. And the other thing is exercising. And I like all kinds of exercising, but I prefer personally using weights that aren't heavy because there's a decrease of strain and sprain, and you can have your reps longer too. And you can combine using bands that stretch, so you can use them for all kinds of stuff. And then there's also free weights. So you can do some free weights, and then you can use stretching bands. They look like basically big rubber bands, and you can do all kinds of exercises with them, whatever you want to do. And you do that. So you exercise, do meditation, and those are two things that can help somebody, for instance, that has difficulty with sleep.
My schedule almost every day is I'm up by 5:30, closer to God as I just now started that on a journey for myself. And
Yeah.
right after that, I do 10 to 15 minutes of the meditation. And then by like 6:20, 6:30, I do a quick workout. I either go on a run, box, or I do the weight training. and then I'm off to classes for the day.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so I started incorporating it that I use the resistance bands when I wake up with the free weights. And I personally do the meditation before I'm going to sleep, but any time of the day I think is going to be beneficial. And
Mm,
another thing that I started incorporating with my team is doing daily conversations. It can be phone calls, it can be video meetings, just to see where we're at and how we can move forward as a team.
mm,
There's a fairly famous guy by the name of Iman Gadzhi, and he said he found a lot of production once he started doing daily calls with his team.
mm.
And so that's another thing I started incorporating into my schedule with the many other things that I do. But if you can have some kind of balance to some degree where you're doing what you want, you're doing what's effective, you're doing it consistently, then the world is yours.
Yeah. I've talked about on myself on my podcast. I definitely look up to the guy for sure, and I've studied a couple of his own videos, which I would say is also the videos that got me started on my self improvement.
Who are some other people that you would say you have learned from in the self-improvement world?
David Goggins, 1000%.
Okay.
Yeah, his motivation always gives me an easy reminder.
Nice.
David Goggins and Joe Rogan, listening to his podcast, yeah, they give me a insight about a lot of different things.
Yeah, I like them a lot. And Joe Rogan's done so many podcasts. People might not know, but I think that he's done maybe even over 1,000 podcasts. And I I am just baffled by that to how many because a lot of people can't do more than 20. A lot of people, I guess over 90% of people after they get to about 20, they quit. So
Mhm.
to see that he's done that many and he keeps doing them and
Yeah.
he just went all the way to the top. And what's so crazy is I remember he argued with Howard Stern, or it might not have been a direct conversation. Maybe Howard Stern just mentioned it on his radio show that he was against podcasts. He almost said they
Mhm.
thought they were fake because you can record them, then you can upload them at a different time. Whereas if you're on the radio, you're on the radio.
Yeah.
And it was funny because he was criticizing Joe Rogan. And then as years go by, you see he has the most famous people in the world on his podcast, even within a few years.
Mhm.
And a podcast, if done effectively and intelligently, can blow up in a year or 2 years. So
Mhm.
you got someone like you got the Fresh and Fit guys.
Yeah, yeah.
It only took them like 2, 3 years to blow up and
Mhm.
become pretty well known across the world. They're maybe not as famous as Elon Musk or Joe Rogan or Donald Trump, but they are pretty well known in the sphere of podcasts. And a big part of it's consistency and knowing the right people, I feel.
Mhm.
And I would love to continue to expand as, and even in the next few months and do some podcasts with possibly work my way up to do some with B-list celebrities, C-list
Mhm.
celebrities, and then A-list celebrities would be so much fun. And those are some of the things that I'm looking at. But I have so many goals and I think about them every day. What would be some goals that you have in your life? Could be in self-improvement, could be in general, whatever you would like to talk about in that regard.
And so my end of the year goal for this year is a book store of mine. I've been on my podcast. I talk a lot about different kinds of books, such as the 48 Laws of Power, Atomic Habits, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I'm like really into those types of books, and prompted me into wanting to like open up a business around books in general. So that's my end of the year goal for that.
It's interesting. And I love the 48 Laws of Power. There are a lot of people that trash talk it, but the thing with the 48 laws of power is with what you read, you can choose what you want to
Hmm.
use.
It's
You,
how you interpret it. Yeah.
yeah, it's how you interpret it. It's not like there's these are the 48 laws, so you have to use them for malevolent means, for evil
Manipulation or
reasons.
control. And that's what, yeah.
You can use them to benefit you and the people around you. And an example of that, there's so many examples, but an example of that would be even Law One, don't outshine your master.
Mm.
And even with Law One, I think you want to find people who are leaders that aren't bad leaders because there's still, for how many leaders there are, if they are confident, they're sure of themselves, they could still be leading people in a way that's going to hurt the world. So you have to find a good leader
Yeah,
who
yeah.
you want to work under. And that's kind of the hard part is finding the
Mm.
right people. If you find a really good person who's a great leader and you don't outshine them, what you're going to do is, okay, you're benefiting yourself, you're growing, they're looking at you positively because you're making them look good and they're going
Mm.
to want you to come up the ranks. And then you, whatever it is that you're into, because they're a good leader, you're listening to them, you're helping people, you're giving solutions out. It benefits everybody. And
Hmm.
part of that is just finding the right leader. Or another one is that I really like is even with attention to any means. Now, does it have to be anything, any means is possible you get grab attention? No, but you can choose intelligently about how you're grabbing attention. So I might wear an outfit that's very similar to somebody that's famous, and that will grab attention.
Mm.
And it may maybe there will be some people that hate me because of a certain outfit that I wore, and but it's gonna ultimately help me because they're giving me their energy by hating. and
Mm.
and I'm not, the fashion isn't something that is hurting anybody at all because it looks good, it makes me look good, and it doesn't hurt anybody. So you can use different ones to your advantage in a way that makes you look better and it helps people.
Yeah, so and some people are just a lot more insecure, I'd say, about themselves, and it could always have a very not a well put effect on yourself. What you had just said reminded me of one of the laws that I just now studied the other day. It was think like others. No, sorry, think like yourself, but blend in with others.
Yeah,
And that just means if you like don't really try to like stand out so much from other people because a lot of people will get insecure about you. A lot of people take things personally, and so somebody who really stands out, they see as a threat.
yeah,
So it's just think as you like. Sometimes keep your own thoughts to yourself, especially around the people who you know are just like out there for you. Because if you try to show out way too much, you might not even be able to keep the luxury of being able to think for yourself.
exactly. And both of those laws conflict to some degree, but they still hold a lot of truth. Just
Mm.
like there's two sides to everything, like the sun and the moon. So you need to know when to play your cards. You need to know if you have bad cards, but you think you can win that game. As an example, is poker, but you think you can win that hand by bluffing in that instance, then do it. You have to know when to show certain things. I'm
Mhm.
not walking around naked everywhere.
Yeah.
That's an example of attention at any cost, and it can
Mhm.
maybe hurt you if you just do that all over the place, and then you'll go to jail. But I'm doing it in a way that looks maybe a little bit tasteful. So you need to know when to use different hands. And that's true
Mhm.
too. And even with talking with people, what I do is each podcast, I think, how could I improve this? How could I become better? What can I do that will make things work and make me better? even when it comes to listening to somebody, if I'm letting them talk and not overstepping them too much and letting them have their conversation, and that's a way to blend in a little bit, but you also become respected because you're listening to what someone says.
Mhm.
Now, with the other book, the the meditation, can you tell me about that? Because I haven't read that.
That book, I mean, it's really all about Stoic philosophy. How it had helped me personally was it had allowed me to have like a different perspective on life, and it really helped me to not allow things to get to my head so much. It made me a lot more down to earth. If you have, let's say, too much of an ego, this book will definitely humble you. Something that I use frequently from this book is maybe when I have like a problem currently uprooting in my life. Something the book said specifically was that compared to the whole entire universe, we are just a tiny speck of dust in it. Our problems, ourselves, we are not as important as all of us think we are.
Yeah.
And and by having that thought, the mindset that all of your problems are this big, you'll just sink yourself down in the long run. That is one of the big messages in the book that I loved. And there was another one that I had posted about talking about living. It was some yeah. If you are not fully being yourself, if you are hindering yourself from past mistakes, not allowing yourself to really a- accept the past and that it already happened, then you're not fully living. You're already dead in the eyes of Marcus Aurelius.
That makes so much sense because a lot of people live in the past. We have all
Yeah.
this technology that's all around us that's evolving year by year, and people are thinking about something that's happened 10 years ago and just thinking about it day after day. When instead, you could be living in the present right
Hmm.
now. You could be listening to somebody and figuring out a way to collaborate with them and help them
Hmm.
and solve solutions. And you can also figure out things where you can improve your world for the future. But yeah, a lot of people do unfortunately live in the past. And
Hmm.
there's three things that often hold people back, even when they're running a business. And that is the ego. That's one of the biggest things.
Hmm.
Someone has an ego where they're not willing to learn from somebody that can hurt them. And laziness, if someone wants, if they can't do it day after day after day. And the third thing is the low intelligence. But the
Hmm.
first two are usually the culprits. So
Yeah.
if you can put your ego aside and say, well, maybe I can learn something from this
Hmm.
person, whoever they are. And then if you also have consistency, so if
Biggest thing right there.
you're consistent and you don't have an ego and you're somewhat intelligent, things can really work in your favor in the long run, I believe. And
Yeah.
I like that the way that you put that too, because it's just to live in the past is just something that's going to hurt
Hmm.
the person who thinks that way. And that kind of makes me want to read that book. Now,
Yeah.
someone wants to get a hold of you and they want to contact you. What is the best way that they can do that?
You can either contact me at my email. It is the official vivid.podcast@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on my Instagram, Colt Foster Author.
Excellent. And I will have both of those links below. And if you want to read my 20-page ebook, which is completely free, just go to that's O is in the letter O, results.com.
Mhm.
And this is the first wave. This is the new shit. And it's free. So you go to that, read it, enjoy it, Colt's going to read it too. He's going to improve
Definitely.
his social skills as well. He's going to read it. And if you want to join my $27 per month community, there's a link on the first page as well. And it's just a price of a meal. So whoever is watching now, it's there on the first page. Just click on it. And if you want to do it, you could do it. And I'm there. I'm on that school community every day, and we have weekly calls as well. And there's a group of like-minded people who are improving their social skills and dating lives on there. And we will end the podcast now.